Hello and welcome back to Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one of your two hosts, Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we have news about stuff. Mike, how are you today?
I am all right. It is another week with some interesting news.
Yeah, I've been putting off schoolwork while I was on spring break because I desperately needed the break.
I've been there.
So I have stuff to do today.
As do I. Tons of projects to do.
Why don't you go for your plug, sir?
Sure. If you like us to the point where you would like to give us money in exchange for some great things such as exclusive videos and perks like getting your questions read on the show, you can do so over at Patreon. It helps support the show and it helps us continue to grow. So if you would like to do that, the link
Get
is...
Mike out of a dumpster.
Yes. The dumpster fire that is my life currently. So, yeah. So we have the Patreon. It's linked in the description of the YouTube video. And if not, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. I have to fix the link because it used to be patreon.com/ambassadors of gaming, but that's too long. So I need to work on that.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So let's go into some updates. Mike, why don't you start us off?
Oh boy. Okay, so Minecraft has removed Notch from its title screens. A recent patch has removed the random messages appearing on the title screen referencing Notch. However, he still appears in the game's credits. This is due to his radical online presence and recent support of several outlandish conspiracy theories. Or the assumption is.
Yeah, this dude's... If you're unaware, Notch is basically the mind behind Minecraft. He created Minecraft. And he's been all over the place, but he most recently just go look him up on YouTube. Just go look him up on YouTube and see what he's been doing because he is he's something. Moving on to the next point, Blizzard plans to remove the option to buy loot boxes with real money from Heroes of the Storm, which I find odd because Blizzard is partnered with Activision, so I don't know how that's going to go over. But players should be able to still purchase the loot boxes with in-game currency.
Right. I'm going to assume that's because Blizzard's getting tired of dealing with Belgium and the EU and all the legislation going on there. And they just kind of were like, this game doesn't make us that much money, whatever. So, Yacht Club Games, the Shovel Knight developer, has announced a new 8-bit style game. The game titled Cyber Shadow is Ninja Gaiden inspired. The developer describes some of its concepts as, quote, the level design principles of Mario, the skills and action of Ninja Gaiden, the enemy designs of Contra, and the dark visual aesthetic of Batman. End quote.
That's quite a lot. Quite a lot
Indeed.
To put into your mixing bowl there. Ubisoft announces its E3 press conference date. Their show will be on June 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Ubisoft did not offer any additional teases. Side note, Bethesda has dated their conference to E3 as well and will not be showing...
The Elder Scrolls.
Oh, why did you put it like that? And will not be showing Elder Scrolls or Starfield. So
because that's the abbreviation for the Elder Scrolls.
Because that's
Okay.
Jesus.
Anyways, let's talk about Dreams. Dreams enters early access on April 16th. It has the date. In a post on the PlayStation blog, Media Molecule has stated the game will launch in early access and that it will indeed have limited access. So if you want to get into Dreams early and have access to the creator tools, you will need to keep an eye out on their accounts in case it starts to run low on codes. The full game will be accessible later down the line and will be given to early access adopters free. And by that, we mean it will be updated. So you're basically investing in it now and getting some of it, and then you get the story and pretty much all the other full features later on. Dreams will launch in early access for $29.99.
So definitely not AAA. I'm pretty sure we went over the fact that it wasn't going to be a AAA title.
Yeah, I don't know how this is gonna. If I have the spare change lying around when it comes out, I'll get it. Just because I think it'll be really cool to like make videos and stream with, but I don't anticipate playing it much. To be honest, I don't like creating stuff. I'm too OCD.
I love The most comfortable thing if I'm ever like super stressed out is I love loading up Minecraft on the Switch in handheld mode,
I bet.
and that'll put me right to sleep. That's so calming. So the free games on PS4 and the Xbox One and the 360 have been revealed for April. PlayStation Plus users will receive The Surge and Conan Exiles. Xbox Gold members will receive the Technomancer and Outcast Second Contact on Xbox One. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 on the Xbox 360. And those games will also be available on Xbox One via backwards compatibility.
I know you're not big into the online community, but a lot of people on the PlayStation side are still pretty upset with PlayStation once they just dropped the PS3 and Vita games.
I was going to ask about that. Ask about that because we haven't talked about it in a while. And then when I was rereading this, I was like, oh yeah, PlayStation dropped the PS3 when they did that. Well,
four free games from PlayStation Plus. So I think it's to compensate for the fact that PS5's coming soon. And by soon, I mean, within the next year or two.
Go watch our last video where I go on a rant and I talk about how there's a difference between one product being good and the other product being bad. There's a difference between them. And that's what's going on with Xbox and PlayStation right now. Please go back and watch our previous video before that, and you will hear my very valid points.
Fair enough. Let's see, moving on to Apple. Apple did hold its press conference, and it has announced it is launching a game subscription service called Apple Arcade. It launches this autumn, the fall, for those in the US, on iOS and Mac, and will include over 100 downloadable titles. The games are all available offline and can be played among any of Apple's products, including the Apple TV. This list will have games with no ads, no in-app purchases, and a subscription that can be used by a total of 6 family members. So if you've ever daydreamed about having a large access to mobile games, enjoy.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to make sure that we were all aware of. These are mobile games.
They're not good games, basically.
Okay, don't say that. That's not nice. The point we're trying to make is that this seems like a very odd service.
Yeah, it seems like
I don't think have we even seen a mobile game?
No, I don't think so. Google doesn't have anything like this.
This is not streaming.
So,
yeah, this is not streaming. This is strange to me.
Yeah, I'm not particularly excited about this. So, and you're all Apple. So,
yeah, nor am I.
And you're not even interested.
Okay, I am not. Okay, we're not going into this. I am not all Apple. I have been becoming more and more fed up with Apple in the recent years.
Fair enough.
So,
all right. Yeah. So,
Daedalic announces a new Lord of the Rings game. I'm just going to talk over you because I don't want to talk about Apple anymore because it'll just make me mad. Daedalic announces a new Lord of the Rings game. Daedalic has announced that Golem, that's what it is, Golem, not Gollum. Golem is getting his own narrative action adventure game. What is most interesting about the announcement, though, is that the company said the game will release in 2021 on PC and, quote, all relevant console platforms at the time. Gasp. No, we are all aware that more consoles are coming. We're going to have another generation. We've had these consoles for how long have these consoles been out? What, the better part of a decade now? The better part of a decade, not like 6 years, 5 or 6 years.
It's been a while because I got my PS4 in 2014.
Oh, yeah. So it hasn't been as long as I think it is. So 5 years. 5 years.
No, yeah, but 5 years. That's pretty standard. Yeah, new consoles eventually. I mean, we kind of already knew that Microsoft's announcing theirs at E3. Like, they've already talked about how they're going to talk about it at E3. So,
just be prepared for them to drop everything PS4 very quickly. Just brace for that.
I'm very interested to see Sony's approach because Microsoft, I'm not worried because like For the most part, everything should run on our X's for a little while before they drop
They'll give it
X.
the Vita treatment.
Yeah, eventually. I think the S will be the first thing to go, but we'll see about that. We'll see how it ends
We'll go
up.
to them. We'll go like, hey, what about compatibility with PS4 games? You're gonna go with the PS what?
Excuse me, did you mean the brand new PS5 we've just announced?
Yeah, dude,
that what you
PS5.
meant?
No, I'm talking about the PS4. Yeah, the PS5. That's what we
The
said.
$649.99 PS5? I'm just making a joke because Sony's absurd.
No, dude, it'll be like remember how the PS3, I think it launched with like a $500, like a $600 price point.
Dude,
when
it
we
was
first revealed
$600 when it came out.
and everyone
I
was
remember.
like, "Are you on drugs?"
Yeah, they're like,
Only
just
now-
get a second job.
Yeah, dude, they're just like buy our
What?
console with our awkward boomerang controller for $600, please.
Buy a console that's been the bane of our company's existence for the last 10 plus years.
Yeah, and the PS3 did not run nearly as well as the Xbox 360. Sorry if you're a super avid PS3 owner and PS3 lover, but I'm sorry, it did not run nearly as well as the Xbox 360.
It's because they picked some weird freaking architecture because they were trying to make it like way more advanced than it needed to be. Microsoft was like, let's just make a good console that works. So, anyways, let's go talk more about Sony. So Sony's confirmed that it will no longer allow retailers to sell PS4 digital game codes. The company has gone on the record to state, quote, "We can confirm that as of April 1st, 2019, Sony Interactive Entertainment will no longer offer full games through SIE's Global Digital at Retail program. This decision was made in order to continue to align key businesses globally. To support full games and premium editions, SIE will introduce increased denominations at select retailers. DLC, add-ons, virtual currency, and season passes will still be available." So, long story short, you just can't buy digital games at GameStop. And you can only really purchase them through the PlayStation Store. Retailers will continue to sell the currency for the store and have newer digital cards added, assuming this is to compensate for the lack of being able to buy the digital games. For example, you can only buy PlayStation cards in increments of 5, 10, 20, and 50, I believe, or 100. I think that's how high it goes up, 100 or 200. Anyways, so you can't just buy like a $70 card, 65, 67, because with taxes in your region or whatever, it might be different, you know? So you have to buy like $70 or $80 worth of fucking credit to, it's stupid. So anyways, they're apparently going to compensate for that with these. And I've sat on this longer because we talked about it last week. This is just confirmation, but I sat on it longer and I'm like, who really gives a shit? Like, I don't really understand. The only reason you could, I think, be upset is that because you won't be able to buy the games digitally through like CD keys and get like better deals in sorts. Like, it kind of monopolizes it, but also there's something we're going to talk about later that may change that. And if that gets implemented, this will just be null and void, in my opinion. Like, the outrage about all of this.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on here. Some sad news. EA has laid off 350 more people in marketing, publishing, and other really non-game related departments, non-actual production
Development kind of
level
stuff,
departments. Yeah. Very sad. We've already reported a while back that for a lot of these big name companies in gaming, they have not had a good past year. Just in general. We've seen Activision lay off employees, and now, please.
Well, I was just going to say is that the bubble is kind of bursting, and we talked about it before the show, but they're kind of stagnating, or their revenue is declining. They're still making ridiculous amounts of money, but their revenue is not as high as it was previously, and so that's where these cuts are coming from, to compensate for that.
Yeah. So Andrew Wilson wrote an email to employees stating, "We have a vision to be the world's greatest games company. If we're honest with ourselves, we are not that right now. We have to work harder.
You can restart.
We have to work to do with our games, our player relationships, and our business." Quote, "Across the company, teams are already taking action to ensure we are creating higher quality games and live services, reaching more platforms with our content and subscriptions, improving our Frostbite tools, focusing our network and cloud gaming priorities, and closing the gap between us and our player communities. The publisher is also closing offices in Russia and Japan. EA has confirmed that it will be helping employees find work if possible and offering severance to those that it cannot. Freaking Frostbite, dude.
Yeah, Frostbite is
I don't like Frostbite.
Not great for everything. Frostbite works great for their sports games because of the way it's designed, but it doesn't work well for like Anthem, and Andromeda ran on Frostbite, didn't it?
Anthem's doing really well.
I think. Yeah, I'm sure.
Anthem's doing even worse now. I was reading the other day that they added an update to fix something, and in the update they
they screwed up the loot drop.
Yeah, they actually made the loot drop they made the loot drop worse, and at the same time introduced a brand new bug that I can't remember at the moment. And they're like, yeah, we got a patch for all that.
Yeah, that's more or less how it goes. Look, like I hate to be that guy, but like this is the reason why I didn't want to buy it in the first place day one, is because like we struggle with this with Destiny. This happened with Destiny, and it's
Destiny
like the
wasn't
same
buggy.
Sort of crap is just kind of happening. No, buggy, no. But them screwing around with drop rates and stuff like that was pretty common day one. And so, like, it sucks, dude, because, like, I was hoping Anthem was going to come out of the gate and be like, we saw what happened with Bungie and Destiny, and we don't want that to happen to us, so we won't let it happen to us. And then they just kind of did the same stuff. So, it's disappointing. And one last caveat on this. I know we all get mad and angry with EA, and people like to crap on them. But when we do, this is where it comes down to. The people that you're actually mad at don't get hurt, just the people below them. Like, they're the ones who get their knees cut out from under them. So just keep that in mind when you're on the internet talking crap.
Yeah, it kind of sucks because, like we said, the people who create games or who are making really bad decisions in making these games, they're not the ones that are getting laid off. It's the people that are trying to...
Yeah, they're not the ones losing their jobs.
Yeah, they're the ones that are trying to sell or, advertise. It's kind of sad, but at least at least supposedly they're helping others find work somewhere else, which I guess is kind of nice.
Real quick, I forgot to add it in there. The caveat is that that's within the company, within EA, and those that have decided not to try to relocate or have just decided to take their leave will get severance. So at least there's that. That's more than a lot of people get. Like, I know people in the games industry get really mad with these layoffs, but, like, if you've ever been laid off or know people that have been laid off, very few of them ever get by with severance. Like, they just get let go. So,
yeah.
At least they get that. So, but I'm going to move on because I don't want to talk too much about it. PlayStation held its first State of Play, and it was kind of dull.
Watch our last video. I said this already. Said it was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was not fire, as the kids say.
It was not lit.
Yes, it was not lit. It was quite dark, and not in the fun way. The presentation focused heavily on VR titles, showing some new ones such as the exclusive Iron Man VR and dating other titles. The company also showed off its exclusive Concrete Genie again, putting a fall 2019 release window on that game. I don't mean to sound like a bummer, but like Spider-Man on PS4 came out and looked really great. Like when you saw it, right, you're like, this game looks pretty good. It looks like it plays pretty good. The Iron Man game looks like it plays pretty good, but it doesn't visually look great. Like I saw it and I was like, that looks janky. Like I don't know if you saw the trailer for it or not.
Well, I explosively vomit when I use PSVR, so I don't even have to worry about it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, I just get motion sick.
That's wonderful. I didn't put it in here, but Microsoft also did their weird ID at Xbox Game Pass thing. I completely misunderstood what that was. Everything they announced in that little conference thing was on Game Pass. So that was a little bit better than State of Play, but it was also like all indie stuff, which at least we knew ahead of time. So, there's that. So you can watch both of those on YouTube if you care.
Yeah. Speaking of VR, Valve announces its own VR headset, Valve Index. Valve has decided to announce its own VR, and it's been rumored for a while. And the headset will arrive in May 2019, and then probably shortly after that, Epic Games will release theirs and absolutely crush it and make them all mad.
Right. Or, Valve will release it and not do anything else with it. They'll just release it and be like, here you go, do whatever you want with it. We don't give a shit. That seems to be Valve's attitude pretty much about everything. So,
yeah, well, now they're not happy because Epic Games is crushing it.
Right. Well, Epic has also got deep pockets and is like, we'll just buy these games out from under them. Like, sorry, sucks to be you. So let's move on to the news. We have two pretty meaty stories.
Yes, I love meaty stories.
I love meat. Great.
I love meaty stories.
Sony has renewed a very interesting patent in regards to the digital games. Sony has renewed the 2015 patent regarding digital game sales. The patent states that, quote, at a later date, the user, the owner, is free to give away, sell, or trade the digital copy to another party in transaction with terms based on, for example, the determined value of the digital copy, end quote. This would allow users on PS4 and hopefully future platforms to buy, sell, and trade digital licenses for games, but of course all the money would be going through Sony's hands. This may be part of the reason Sony opted to kill off digital game sales at retailers, allowing a wider market of digital games on PlayStation. However, until PlayStation announces this is something that they just own the patent for. So, basically, if I wanted to sell you the remastered license for The Last of Us, Sony would be like, all right, well, we value the sale at whatever, $7 for a used whatever, something like that, and then that's how much you would get in store credit or whatever. So this could be good if it turns out the way it sounds like it will.
We'll see if it'd be funny, just super ironic. It'd be really funny if they gave you more than GameStop would give you for the physical copy. I think that'd just be funny.
Oh, I definitely feel like that would be the case because it's a little bit different. Like, it's the same sort of mindset, right? The reason why they give you more credit is so that you'll stay there, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, but
same
with PlayStation,
GameStop has store credit.
Well, that's what I was referring to. With PlayStation, it's not, I don't think, the way I'm understanding this, I doubt that you're going to be able to sell, whatever, I sell the copy, right? And it's like, okay, we'll give you $10 in store credit. And then the other person will pay $10 or whatever. I don't feel like you're going to be able to be like, okay, I'll sell you the remastered copy or the license for $10 in store credit or $7 in real money. I don't feel like that's going to be the case. Sony's too particular about things. I don't feel like you'll be able to just sell like that. I don't think that's how it's going to work. Though I am interested because let's be honest, people will try to find workarounds. So what if, my buddies, you're like, hey, just pay me through PayPal and I just give it to you for free.
Oh yeah, it says you can just give the possibilities to give away. Then yeah, they totally could just do like a PayPal transaction.
They could just circumvent it. Right.
Yeah.
Which would just turn it into a free-for-all. It would just be a madhouse of digital sales, which would prevent...
But then they would just get rid of the whole being able to give it away.
Right, exactly.
That's how they'd get around it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's more for being able to gift games, like how you can on Xbox. I feel like so that's probably...
buy it and send the code to someone.
Because it says free to give away. I don't think it means give away for free. I don't think that's what it means. So, but you could, one could be confused by that terminology. So, yeah. I'm very interested to see this because I think this will all come out with PS5. I think we're pretty much just at the point where Sony's just going to sit on all of this until they announce the PS5.
Dude,
I don't think they want to talk about anything new.
This brings me back to. Of course, they don't want to talk about anything new. They're not even going to be at E3. I'm not going to go into this rant, but it brings me back to shortly after No Man's Sky came out. I went to GameStop to, I don't remember what I was getting, but a dude was there, like an old dude, and this dude was legitimately trying to haggle the price with GameStop. Like it was like a week after No Man's Sky came out, and he was like, and the guy said who was there, he goes like, I got it. He's like, he explained to him the amount that our store gives you is based on how many copies of it used we have sitting. He's like, I have 50 copies of No Man's Sky used sitting. I can give you $2. He was like, that's all I can give you. That's all that the store wall I'm going to give you. He goes, this is where I paid like $60. This is at least worth like $30 or $40. And he was seriously like trying to like, as if like he could like haggle with him. It was so great.
How old was
It was
this
amazing.
man? How old would you say?
Like 30s?
50s? Okay.
No, 30s. Probably.
Okay. I feel like he clearly missed the economic lessons on supply and demand.
Yeah.
So, the very basic core concept of supply and demand. So,
yeah. So, I don't know. This seems... I'm not sure how I feel about this, because buying used games digitally is something totally different than when you buy it physically. I don't buy anything that revolves around electronics used. I tried a few times, and I just got crap. So I make it a point to never buy anything electronic, whether it be games or this or that used. I just never will. That's how it is. The only exception to that was when you gave me that used PS4, and I'm pretty sure it worked the best out of all those used consoles you got.
no, my Wii U was pretty good.
Okay.
But that Xbox was a little janky.
That PS4 ran like a dream. But where was I going with this? So I'm concerned with how this is going to work, because like, let's say you take Destiny 2, best example. Let's say you bought the core game of Destiny 2, comes with the exotic cold heart and an emote and this and that. So what would be the point in me buying it new at all if I could just literally get the exact same thing cheaper from another person, like, and it's the exact same thing?
Well, here's the thing. For my understanding, the price point is all going to be controlled by Sony. That's the thing. So, like, it depends, because I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of the PlayStation Store in general.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
so, like,
you know,
I get where
Sony's
you're
like, okay,
from.
I deem this to be a $30 purchase. Okay, but Sony's still losing money on that,
I guess. But in their minds, I think they would rather make $30 or whatever. Let's just say they make, I don't know. I'm going to use The Last of Us again as an example, because they own all of that, right? So that's 100% profit for them.
Yeah.
And revenue. So let's just say, all right, so on the PlayStation Store right now, say you can buy the game on the PlayStation Store for $8, right? But Sony says, okay, if you can find somebody who is willing to sell it, we value it at $7, $6. I don't think it's going to be like that dramatic of a difference, but like hypothetically, I buy, I don't know, let's just say I buy Destiny 3, right? Let's just say I buy Destiny 3. I buy it $60. Sure. And then I decide, hey, this isn't for me. I'll just give it to Justin. Let's just say we'll give it to Justin, right? And PlayStation's like, all right, well, you can sell it to him for like $50, $55, something like that, you know? Because when you go to GameStop and you try to buy a pre-owned game that's relatively new, they still charge you like $55. Like, most games
I know.
sit at $55 for a while, and it's like $5 isn't that much of a difference. So, like, but it will be a difference digitally. Like, because you're just basically getting a brand new copy of it. It's not like you're going to get it and it's going to be like scratched up and like damaged and stuff. It's digital, you know? So I don't know. There's more questions to ask than are answered by this patent, but I think that's why Sony's just going to sit on it and just announce all of this stuff. I think my guess would be that PSN gets a whole revamp when PS5 comes out, and they kind of just are like, hey, here's all this stuff. We've done a lot of work on PSN. We know PSN was a disaster, you know, and that's why we've been quiet for so long. I'm hoping that's what happens. So, but we'll just kind of have to see, honestly.
Maybe. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next big story. Apparently, according to rumors, the Switch family, the Switch is actually going to have a family. Right now, it's just the Switch. We are supposedly going to get not one, not 1.5. Not one and okay, we're gonna get 2 new consoles supposedly. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo is planning to launch 2 new Switch models side by side, similar to how the company has handled its handhelds like the 2DS and the 3DS. The report, also backed by Eurogamer and their sources, states that Nintendo is preparing to have a more sturdy, quote, kid-proof, unquote, variation coming modeled to target younger audiences. The Wall Street Journal reports that the model will remove some features to drive down the cost, one of which being rumble, vibration in general, pretty sure. Eurogamer says that the system will have even more dramatic cuts, with Nintendo, quote, designed its budget Switch for an audience which uses it in handheld mode only. Eurogamer notes it would be a significant change given the Switch's name and motto, but Nintendo did remove the 3DS slide, the 3D slider from the 2DS to make it cheaper. The second rumor, another Switch, is going to be a more powerful variation, from Nintendo's own words, quote, meant for avid video gamers, end quote. The Wall Street Journal report states we shouldn't expect anything on the level of a PS4 Pro or Xbox One, and I don't think anyone was really expecting that, but I guess we really have to clarify that. Eurogamer states they have, quote, heard the bump will be comparable to the one on received by the 3DS upon its new 3DS launch. Finally, there's no suggestion that this model could possibly remove the TV screen docking, which we also didn't think would happen. But Nintendo declined to comment to Eurogamer regarding the article and the speculation. So, there's a lot here. There's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, honestly, there's a bunch. We've discussed the idea of the Switch Lite, basically, before. And the Switch can be expensive, I guess. The 3DS launched at what, 200 or 250? Do you remember?
The 3DS launched at 200 for the 3DS XL. It launched at 200.
Okay,
and then the new 3DS XL launched at 200 as well, and bumped the other one
to lower prices. Yeah. Okay, so that all makes sense. I think that's probably where they're going to target this, is try to hit the light version of the Switch at like 200. The thing that I find really weird is that the kid-proof variation is supposedly, not going to have the rumble, and then also remove the screen docking, which is a big, the big benefit to having the Switch. Like, granted, I see a lot of kids in public actually now playing Switch. Like, now that the Switch has been out long enough, people understand what it is, what it can do. Kids want it. Their friends have it. So, like, I'm starting to see them out and about, Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know if it matters to them.
Well, we also can't forget the fact that just in general, we have games that use the Joy-Con separated from the Switch. And that would eliminate, for example, Mario Party. Best example, Mario Party uses you play it with one Joy-Con, and you have motion games like ARMS. I mean, you can play ARMS with a controller, but I'm talking
that require them
exactly. So this doesn't just this takes away the ability to play some games. It could also, though, help Nintendo's kind of targeting. They at first were marketing it like a home console, and that was really helping them, but now they want multiple Switches in homes. And when you target as a home console, it doesn't exactly... It's easier to target it to sell it as a handheld and maybe sell more of them. But I could totally see a Switch Mini or like a Switch kid-proof one. I think what's going to happen is they're going to do what happened with when the One X came out. They are going to I would assume they're not going to sell the regular. They're not going to produce the regular Switch
That
anymore
would
at
be
all.
interesting.
I think that the new Switch will replace the $300 price point that we have for our current Switch, and then the Switch, whatever we call it, the Switch Lite,
Mini, light, whatever. Yeah,
whatever, will be probably somewhere cheaper. Without bundling the dock, they could actually make that a good sum cheaper, because the dock already in itself is a $90 purchase on its
Oh yeah,
own.
I forgot it's
Like,
that high.
so getting rid of that, taking away some features, yeah, you could definitely you could potentially get this thing for under $200,
Which would be huge. Yeah, if you could set it at like 180,
which would be
like
yeah.
180, 160.
Even you could. Well, think of everything we're losing. The Joy-Con
Right.
probably wouldn't. If we're assuming everything we're reading here is correct, the Joy-Con aren't removable.
This one doesn't say that. It doesn't say the Joy-Con won't be removable. We're assuming based off of the other reports we've seen, right? Like this report doesn't say that, I don't think.
Well, but
We're
what
assuming.
I'm saying is, if you only target it for handheld mode,
That's true. There's no reason to remove the Joy-Cons.
what's the point of what's the point of removing the Joy-Con unless you want to put it on a kickstand and play it on a plane?
That's
like in those
fair.
weird commercials. But what I'm saying is, you would be removing, aside from just tech that's in it, you would also be removing the dock, which on its own is a $90 purchase. So this has the potential to be somewhere between $200 and $150. That is,
Which is a big deal. Because
that's a big deal. That's a very cheap Switch.
that means that you're on the same competition as... I think it's very important to note, if you... let's spread out and look at the entire ecosystem at that point, right? So if this happens, let's hypothetically say this comes out this fall, right? They just announced it at E3 and they're like, hey, look, we're retiring the old Switch model. We have this one and this one now. Right? So at that point, Microsoft will apparently already have the discless Xbox One, which will be significantly cheap and should be around that same price point. The PS4 and the PS4 Pro will still exist, but there's no new variation coming for that. So the only thing it's really going to compete with on price is that discless Xbox One. So, for depending on the age of your kid, that's a pretty easy choice to make, I think.
One thing they could do, just throwing something out there randomly, is still make it maybe able to connect to a TV, but just not exactly target it like that. Like, maybe the controllers can't be removed, but if you're already a Switch owner, you can link other controllers to it. You can still plug it in. You can still play it on the TV, but it just wouldn't be targeted that way.
Right. I still think it has to be able to connect to the dock. I get it that
It's its namesake.
right. That's like the big selling point of the Switch, is being able to do both. So if it's not,
Or they'll do what they did with the 2DS and actually give it maybe a new type of name, because the 2DS was capable of playing 3DS games, but the whole namesake of the 3DS was that it played games in 3D and handheld. So if this console can't do it anymore, there's no point in calling it a 3DS variant. So they just called it the 2DS.
right.
So they could give a new name,
Yeah.
a new kind of like name.
It'd be
name Switch.
It wouldn't be a Switch, but it would still be able to play Switch games.
It would play Switch games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be kind of confusing branding wise, though, I think.
Yeah.
They like to make everything very easy for everyone to understand, everything under the same umbrella. That's why, Apple doesn't really change the phone names, and Xbox doesn't really change their names and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. I agree with you that I think that'd probably be the best way to do it, but it will be very confusing to the average consumer who goes into GameStop and goes, oh, this is a new Nintendo thing. And they'll be like, no, it's the same thing as the Switch. Okay, but why is it named differently? Oh, that's just because it's not exactly like the Switch. It can become confusing for the layman,
Yeah. Or they could just do what they're doing. Remember that in the last video we did, we talked about someone supposedly got a look at the box art for this new
the
Xbox,
discless,
new discless Xbox. It could just be labeled all over the place.
That's true.
That the Joy-Con can't be removed.
That's true. I had the exact same thought. That's funny. Because, right before you said that, I was like, or they could, just do the same thing as the Xbox, the discless one. So, I don't know. I think, if anything, what might be interesting is if they have the technology already to connect systems, right? To connect switches.
Yeah.
I think that worst case scenario, it doesn't connect to the dock, right? To save money, you don't get a dock. It doesn't connect to the dock. There's no HD rumble, right? Worst case scenario, you use it like the Wii U tablet, and it connects to another Switch as like a controller. I think that might be like the worst case scenario, because we saw that with the 3DS and the Wii U. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. That's just like a thought that, they already have that, so maybe that's something they do, but it doesn't seem like a likely scenario.
I'm also concerned with games, just games being labeled themselves. Like when you look at the back of the game box, it shows you what modes the game supports, and you would have to make that way more prominent, or put like some sort of special like logo on like one game versus another, so that people know whether this can be played easily with everything that comes in the kit or not. Because for games, like I said, like Mario Party, they might have to label something on Mario Party or something, or label something when you buy it from the store saying just a little symbol or something that says this can be played with the contents that comes with the Nintendo Switch, like, or this model of the Nintendo Switch. But it might not, but it won't work with, if you can't remove the Joy-Con, you need to buy an extra pair of Joy-Con before you can play it on this version, kind of thing. We're talking about confusing the market, and this isn't making it any easier.
No, there's a bunch of marketing branding problems they'll have to get over with this, because it's very different from the PS4 and the Xbox scenario. Because the PS4 and the Xbox scenario, they both run the same games. They will run them exactly the same. You can play them exactly the same. Now, granted, they're supposedly run better and look better, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's not like I can't, I can't play a game if I buy it on PS4, So that's totally different. Whereas, you're right, Nintendo is in this weird scenario where that could be the case with the Switch. And I know we're getting hung up on the smaller variation, but I think that will be the more popular variation. And two, there's not really much to say about the avid gamer part one, because it's like, okay, it'll be more powerful. Great. That's pretty much what everybody just assumed, is that the Switch will be kind of Nintendo's thing going forward, and they'll just progressively increase its power, just like Xbox will with the One.
Yeah.
That's been kind of our assumption so far, is that they kind of just hit the nail on the head. They have a system that's selling, and there's no reason to really change up the formula yet. And that's the reason why we haven't seen a PS5 yet. So
yeah, the Switch has a lot of good things going for us, going for it.
Right.
But there is one last thing that I feel like we can talk about with this, and that is talking about the console, the games that it plays. So,
okay,
we see games like Call of Duty. Obviously, Call of Duty does not come out on the Switch.
Correct.
And that's because it just doesn't have the power to run it, which means that for games like the AAA games that people are really playing on the Switch are almost all made by Nintendo.
For the most part, yes, or they're old games.
So, aside from Animal Crossing, we've basically gotten every major game that everyone's been waiting for. We got Smash, we got a Mario title, we got a Zelda title, we've got Mario Kart. Like we got all the games.
We got a 2D Mario.
Traditionally,
yeah.
We got a 2D Mario. We got Mario Maker coming. Like,
right.
It almost makes you wonder if at one point their sales are gonna start to drop, just because of the games that they aren't really gonna. All the games that they could make have been made, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Xbox and PlayStation don't just rely on their own first party games. They rely on there's
heavily, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people making AAA and non AAA games, and it almost has me wondering if maybe eventually the Switch is going to maybe start to tank a little bit, because all of the big games that everyone wanted have been out, they've been played, people aren't playing them anymore, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a thought.
No, I agree with you, but I also have a caveat, and this, to be fair, is speculation and rumor, and based off of what we know is true. So I think the saving grace for that, as much as Switch is not built for it, is in dock streaming. I think that will be the way they circumvent that. For example, we know Resident Evil 7 can run on Switch. We also know that Assassin's Creed Odyssey can run on Switch if you stream it. That is already a thing that happens in Japan. They already are streaming games to Switch in Japan. They're not doing it here in America yet. However,
we've gone over that streaming isn't reliable, at least not yet.
I agree with you 100% that's probably not the way to go. But unless they can figure out a way to make this tiny system just as powerful as these big boxes we have, I don't really see any other way around it. You know, like unless they come out with like I don't know, like a box that enhances the Switch's power. You know what I mean? But even then, it'd be a whole Wii U scenario again, where your Switch is like the controller and the console is, you know, it'd be just like the Wii U.
All of a sudden, you're bogged down to wherever you have this thing plugged in or something.
Right, exactly. And it's like, well, you know, at that point, just play on PlayStation or Xbox. Like, no offense.
Yeah.
But like, that's not why you buy Switch.
I swear, once we perfect streaming, the Switch is not going to be special anymore.
No, it might not be.
Because I can tell you that if I was a game developer, if I was a game console developer like Sony or Xbox, and all of a sudden we could perfect streaming, every single console we are going to be able to take with you.
Basically, you know, you'd be able to pop open an app.
Yep, we'll give you a dock. We'll give you a dock. You can put it in there. You can take it with you. You can play. You can do a Destiny 2 raid while you're skipping class in college. Yeah, you could do it while you're in class in college. Like, I'm just
depending on how liberal your professor is. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you. I think that if that scenario was viable, it would probably be what ends up happening. But at the same point, like, we've seen EA has their Premier Origin or whatever, right? And we haven't heard anybody talk about it since it's been announced. No one's talked about it. As far as I'm aware, that's still a thing that's going. And the streaming option is something that is a part of that, correct?
I think so.
Okay, let me just look it up for the sake of conversation here real quick. I have it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I don't think that's a streaming service.
I thought that streaming was included as one of the benefits for it. I thought that was kind of like the whole point, but apparently I'm not finding the information that I thought I was going to.
You thought wrong.
Apparently so. If streaming becomes a viable option, I think that'll probably be the way they take it. We've seen Xbox is messing around with streaming way more now. They have way more ideas and implementation. Microsoft and Nintendo are working together just on getting Xbox Live on Switch because Nintendo's thing is so awful. And then PlayStation doesn't really seem to have any interest outside of remote play. They had remote play and that worked fine, but it was like you needed really good internet for it to work, and even then it was kind of stupid. Like, I'd rather just play on the TV than play on the Vita. Like, playing on the Vita sucks. Playing a PlayStation game on Vita sucks. And playing on your computer sucks. Because you have to disconnect your controller from the PS4, connect it to your computer, and then reconnect it to your PS4 if you want to use it on... It's a hassle, so we're not in a state to do it.
We are branching.
Hard.
Yeah. So I think that's all the news that we have for today. We definitely talked these two points to death. Try and check us out at least once a week. That's how often we try and do this. But we are going to go ahead and get out of here. I am Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And I just drew a blank. All right. And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, friends.
We're gone.